speaking, and I want to apologize for having gotten weary of well-doing. There's Uncle Henry over there who never has gotten weary, and I just want to thank him and all of the people who are on the radio, all of you who came today, all of the speakers here today, Gene Librato and all the folks who organized this. This is tremendous. I am told that there are more than 700, almost 800 of these gatherings that are known about across the nation today, and that's going to mean a lot. Every single place is going to know that this is going on and that the people are behind it. I'm here to talk to you today about the big picture. A lot of this has been covered in some ways by some of our other guests, and I want to underscore that. But before I start, I want to ask, is there anybody from PETA here today? Well, that's good, because I'm about to throw out the red meat. In the 20th century, we watched the rise of communism, socialism, fascism. Tyranny by any other name would still stink of death. You can see all these philosophies at work in the progressive agenda today. Whatever means are at hand that might destroy free capitalism. These all have in common that we, the people, must be under government command and control, and this is justified by the promised end of a man-made global utopia. The American people in our constitutional republic have ever been the greatest obstruction to the designs of the fellow travelers and useful idiots and progressive dreamers and planners. The fact is that everywhere and every time tyranny has been the means to reach their utopian ends, the result has been death, famine, desolation, and destruction.
Yeah.
They believe that their plans are the best, and that they themselves are the best suited to rule, and that we, the people, are better suited to serve. Freedom is for the few and for the very few in the societies that they have engineered. Now, when you listen to all of these things put together, all of the many fronts upon which we are losing liberty, you could almost sound like a conspiracy nut, but we're not. This is real. This is in the headlines today.
Yeah.
I've always said that those who say there are no conspiracies of this kind are just as wrong as those who see a conspiracy behind every tree or under every bush. There are innumerable politicians and documents and statements of their own that confirm the confluence of persons and policies working against the Constitution and this republic. On every front of society, culture, education, and government, we look back on a century of the decline of the American way. Now, we could literally be here all day and night discussing how this has transpired, so we won't go there. I've asked Ron to please find a hymn to play, and I'll close up as soon as that time comes. But I've talked about these things a lot through the years. I've talked about them with my dad especially. He was there when Pearl Harbor was bombed and describes it so well to me that I can almost see it and hear it myself. My late father-in-law fought the enemy in the Philippines back in those years, and some of you know what that means. That generation seems smarter and wiser to me every day now, and I wish I had listened to them more as a young man. We should listen very closely these days to those like Helmar who are still with us. Now, by now, we have all heard of the parable of the frog and the kettle, where if you put a frog into some lukewarm water and gradually warm it up, he'll boil to death. If you just throw him into hot water, he'll jump out if he can.
Yeah.
Well, we've been being slowly boiled to death in this nation.
Yeah.
My father has examined the gradual systematic destruction of the America we knew. He distilled this collusion of policies and programs from their own public documents, from their own speeches, down to 4 essential points that he wanted me to share with you today, and I told him I would. Progressive objective number 1, increase the ignorance of the people. Well, we see this happening in the school systems today.
Yeah.
How many schools are just blighted zones of dropouts and violence? We know that only a quarter of those who even graduate in some of these schools can read at a 4th grade level. And this has not changed, no matter how much money we throw at it.
Yeah.
Objective number 2, to degrade the morality of the people. And I will not dwell on this point, as you have already heard very well about that today. Objective number 3 is to destroy our capitalist economy, and I want to move to that point. Objective number 4 is to weaken our industry and defense.
Yeah.
Let me go back to that point number 3, destroying America's capitalist economy. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, better known to us as Lenin, once said, "The way to crush the middle class is to grind them between the millstones of taxation and inflation."
Yeah. What's going on here?
I don't know about you, but the other day when I heard that one of the Federal Reserve bankers in the nation was warning about hyperinflation, that's when I stood up and took notice. Normally, most anything they say is a lie. I don't know how long this guy's going to keep his job.
Yeah.
It's disturbing when the Federal Reserve Bank tells Congress, no, we are not going to tell you what we did with $2 trillion. That should be very disturbing to all of us. $2 trillion is a lot of money.
Yeah.
That is $2,000 billion. It's an incredible amount of money. We cannot pay it. Our children cannot pay it. Our grandchildren cannot pay it. It cannot be paid. The amount of debt and obligation that we are facing now, the deficits which have quadrupled over the last year. Just days ago, a single political party betraying the trust of the centrist voters who empowered them, using questionable parliamentary procedures and against the consent of the now furious American citizen, in opposition to the clear limitations to the Constitution, in violation of their campaign promises, and even worse, in violation of their sacred oaths of office, passed the takeover of American medicine, doing little or nothing to actually fix the problems they were complaining about. Not content with that, within the same bill, undebated, virtually unknown to the American citizen, these oath breakers also grabbed power over student loans. More disturbing and chilling than all of these, and perhaps most inevitably destructive to American liberty, this same bill gave into the hands of the President of the United States of America a domestic civilian force that in his own speeches he claims should be as large, as well equipped, and as well funded as the United States military. And I ask you, why?
Yeah.
Who are they afraid of? Us? Well, maybe they should be. The Founding Fathers knew what they were doing when the Second Amendment was ratified. I digress, but let the American citizens reaffirm the clear meaning of the Second Amendment to the progressives. We want to do things peacefully. We really do. But our right to keep and bear arms has nothing to do with duck hunting, squirrel shooting, and gun collecting. It has everything to do with deterring, or in the last, final, desperate resort, overthrowing a tyranny. I wish I had time to go into details on all of these subjects. There is not that amount of time in the world to describe what is going on when they put together 2,000-page bills and pass them in the middle of the night. But one of the biggest things going on right now is the big lie of global warming.
Yeah.
My father is Thank you. My father is a retired chemical engineer. He's not a pseudo-scientist with a political axe to grind. He is not an industrial scientist who may or may not have a profit motive for what he does. He's just out there on his own, retired, like most of you. But to satisfy his own curiosity, he found what information he could from the public domain. He balanced the chemical equations for the burning of a fossil fuel, and he determined on his own that even if the industrial output of the entire population of the planet matched that of the United States of America, it would still be impossible to produce enough carbon dioxide, numerically, industrially, impossible to produce enough carbon dioxide to affect the Earth's atmosphere.
Right.
The more he looked at this, the angrier he became. He sent this off to almost everybody in the mainstream media. He sent this off to almost all of the politicians that he knew anything about. The only one who even responded to him was, God bless him, Jeff Sessions. Through the Climate Gate revelations, we now know how the United